Hey everybody, it's me, Jenna, your friendly cider maker here in Canada. Not only am I a cider maker, but I am the licensed educator on behalf of the Certified Cider Program run by the American Cider Association. What is that, you might ask? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you more about today. So the American Cider Association has a program called the Certified Cider Professional Program, which has two different levels to it. It's got the Certified Cider Guide and the Certified Pommelier. Both programs I think are great because they really help people understand cider better. It gives them names to flavors, names to aromas, and it really helps you have just an overall better experience drinking cider. And you have a better experience because you have a way better understanding of what's gone into this bottle and what makes it so special. So today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of a structured cider analysis because that can sometimes be the most intimidating part of writing the Pommelier exam. I know for me, I was quite nervous to do it. I am a cider maker myself, and so I know how to do an analysis and how to describe my own cider because I was the one who made it. But sometimes it can be a little bit scary to learn how to do that for something you didn't make or something that's a bit different to you, or if, an apple you're not sure of. So today, I'm gonna take your hand and we're gonna walk through this beautiful bottle of Geneva Crab Rosé from Annapolis. So for our structured analysis today, we are going to take this beautiful bottle of Geneva Crab Rosé from an Annapolis cidery, and we are going to talk about its appearance. So we're going to talk about the clarity of it. We're going to talk about the intensity and the color and the carbonation. We're going to pour it in this glass, and we're going to see what we can see with our own eyes. Once we're done that, then we're going to do the aroma. So aroma, what kind of characteristics are we getting from it? Is it intense? Is it light? Is it pronounced? Is it medium? How many different flavor profiles are we hitting? Are we getting stone fruit? Are we getting tropical fruit? Are we getting red fruit? Are we getting any secondary fermentation characteristics? And if you're like, Jenna, what the heck did any of that mean? Don't worry. That's what today is for. I'm going to explain it all to you. Once we're done with aroma, we're going to move on to one of my favorite parts, the palate. And the palate, so we're going to talk about sweetness. We're going to talk about acidity. We're going to talk about tannin. We're going to talk about the intensity and the complexity of this cider. And then once we're done all of that, we're going to do our final assessment, which is where we're going to take all the information we just gathered from doing the appearance, doing the aroma, doing the palate, and we're going to write it one beautiful, succinct sentence for our final assessment of this bottle. So to start with appearance, what you're going to have to do is you are going to have to open your bottle, open your can, open whatever cider you have in front of you, and you're going to have to get it in a nice clear glass so that you're able to see everything that the maker wants you to see. So the first thing we're going to do, open this baby up. Hey, that's what we like. And we're just going to pour about 2 or 3 ounces into it. We don't want to overwhelm, and we want to make sure that we can still see certain aspects of the cider as we pour. So if we pour too much, we might miss some things. If we pour too little, we might not have enough to do a proper evaluation of it. So let's take this one here, pour it a bit. All right, so we've got our 2 to 3 ounces of our cider in here, and the first thing we want to do is we're going to talk about clarity. So when I say clarity, I want to know how clear is the cider. Is it clear, is it cloudy, or is it opaque? Those are the 3 main markers that the ACA uses for the Pommelier exam. Clear, cloudy, opaque. So how we check for clarity, there's a few different ways. All of us have fingerprints, so that's a really good way of doing it. You can put your finger on the other side of the glass, and if you can still see any of those ridges or any of your own fingerprint, that's pretty clear. Another way, if you're a little bit uncertain, take anything that has a little bit of text on it, hold up your cider with some light, and if you hold that up and you can still read everything on that piece of paper, you've got a clear cider. Then there is cloudy and there is opaque. Cloudy, kind of the same in the name. You won't be able to pick up words clearly. You might be able to see that there's still words on that white page. You definitely won't be able to see any of your fingerprint or anything like that. So cloudy is kind of, the in-between. And then there's opaque. So opaque, you are not going to be able to see through that cider at all. So next up after clarity, we have intensity. So intensity is going to be the color of the cider, and is it all the way throughout the cider? And if you're sitting at home, you're like, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to show you exactly what that means, because me learning this at first was a little bit confusing. So That's what I'm here for. We're going to make this less confusing for everybody. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take your cider. You are going to take a blank white sheet of paper. You're going to lay it down. You're going to have really good lighting, and you're going to put your cider on a 45-degree angle. As soon as you do that, you're going to look in the center of the glass, and you're going to notice that it's you're going to notice a lot more color within the center, whether you're drinking something like a rosé, something light, or even if this is an opaque or a cloudy cider, you're still going to notice that the middle has a lot more depth or a lot more like deepness to it, or a lot more just like color. But the one thing you'll also notice is when you look from the center and you start looking outwards to the edges, you're maybe going to see some of that color start to fade. You might see that the edge of the cider that's touching the glass, it might start to look a bit more watery or a bit more clear, or you just might notice that some of that color has faded. So what we're looking for in this is, do you see that fade? How much of that fade do you see? And that is what's going to tell us the intensity of this cider. So the intensity for this, like the options are pale, medium, or deep. And so when I look at this rosé cider here, I would put this at a medium intensity because for the most part, I have color all the way through, except up to a maybe 2 or 3 millimeters outside the glass. So that means that this is like a medium intensity because it carries most of the color all the way through. However, we still are having some of that fade. So if I had no fade at all and it was the same color all the way to the edge, this would be deep. Because there is still the majority of color up until it's medium. If you have like a way more of a fade, like above like 5 milliliters, say, or like 3 milliliter, or like, yeah, millimeter gap, then that's going to be a pale intensity. Now that we're done with intensity, we're going to talk about color. So for color, we have a few more options. Clarity and intensity, we only had 3. Color, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different options. So we've got straw, we've got yellow, we've got gold, amber, copper, pink, ruby, purple, and garnet. All right, so the first color is straw, and to me, straw is in the name. So have you ever seen a straw bale anywhere, or gone to a festival, gone to a farmer's market, taken a cute little sit with your date on a little straw bale? That is straw. So you have, it's got the yellowness to it. It's also going to be the palest of all of the cider colors. After that, we have yellow, which is similar to straw, but it has a bit more depth to it. It has a bit more saturation. There's a bit more complexity. It looks like straw and then some. Next, we have gold. So gold, the best thing I like to compare it to is gold jewelry. So think about gold jewelry, and when you're writing the exam, maybe wear a gold ring on your finger, and then you can hold it next to the cider and you can see, because gold jewelry really is the same color of the gold that we are looking for, or that we are trying to characterize in the cider that we're trying. After gold, we have amber. So it's going to be a bit deeper, a bit more complex. It's going to be like, have you seen Jurassic Park? You know that mosquito that gets stuck in the amber and then they take the DNA from it and they make dinosaurs? Take that little thing that the mosquito's stuck in, that's amber. And if you don't get that reference, watch a movie. After amber, we get copper. So this is when things are going to get a bit more brown in color, or a bit more reddish in hue. So you're going to start noticing like a much darker color. And these are generally ciders that are going to have higher tannin in them, or maybe they've been barrel aged, or maybe they've had a little bit of oxygen contact. But these are generally going to be a bit more complex ciders, and that's a good way of knowing when you've hit copper. So yeah, copper, bit more brown, deeper than amber, and there's just more. After copper, we're going to start talking about the red. So as you can see here today, or maybe you've guessed in the name when I said that we were drinking a Geneva crab, this is a rosé style. So rosé style ciders are ciders that are made from red fleshed apples. Red fleshed apples, what are those? Well, not only is the skin on the outside red, but the beautiful flesh on the inside also red. So when you press it, you get beautiful, rich red tones, which do change as you ferment and as you produce a cider. But we do have colors for that because rosé is a great style of cider. So the first different hue we're going to talk about of the color is pink. So pink to me is going to be very natural. It's going to be almost like a pink petal, or yeah, like a pink flower petal. It's going to be something that like nature has created. It's not going to be like a bright in-your-face baby pink that you might see painted on a wall, or the jacket you sometimes see me wear. It's going to be very natural. It's going to be very like floral. So ruby is next up after pink. So ruby is going to have more saturation, and it's going to be a lot like the jewel that this color is named after. So more saturation, a bit more depth, a bit more like oomph to it, much like how the yellow is one step up from the straw. So next up after ruby is purple. Purple is, again, like how ruby was darker, purple is going to be even deeper, a bit more complex, a bit more rich. Like think of the outside of a plum skin. Like that plum is the perfect purple of what you might look for in a cider to see if it's purple. And last on our list of hues is garnet. So garnet is going to be the deepest and the richest, and I think the most complex of them all, because garnet can be a bit hard to explain, but I'm going to try my best for you here today. So garnet, deep, dark. Garnet is like if you take a little bit of red and brown. So you're going to have a mix of the two different hues together, but it's still going to have a lot of those red notes or those red hues, much like ruby, but it might have also some of the brown notes that you would see in copper. All right, so for the evaluation of this cider, we already know that the clarity is clear. We know that the intensity is medium. And now for color, we're going to say that this is a pink cider. And why I am going with pink for this one is we have a lot of those beautiful blush tones to it. It's very clear, but it's also not deep or dark like a ruby, but it also doesn't have any of the brown tones like the amber or the copper. This, to me, is quite clearly a pink cider. All right, so last on the list for appearance is the carbonation. Is this a still cider? Is it a petulant cider? Or is it a sparkling cider? And once we're done with that, we've wrapped up the appearance section of this evaluation. So for a still cider, that's a cider that has no movement whatsoever in it. There's no bubbles. There's no lovely little mousse on top or anything like that. You're not going to see a stream of anything from it. You're going to look at that cider and it's going to look like water. You're not going to see any bubbles, anything in it. Next is petulant. So petulant, you're going to see some movement. You might not see steady full streams from the bottom, but if you were to take your cider, swish it around and move it, you would see a lot more activation within it. So you would see the bubbles of the carbonation start to expose themselves, start to come up, start to bubble up. And that's how you know a cider is petulant. Lastly is sparkling. So sparkling for a lot of people, they think is the easiest, which I mean, I would probably agree with, because sparkling means you're going to see a very steady stream of bubbles all the way from the bottom of your glass to the very top, and you're likely going to see a consistent mousse around your cider. So mousse, like I was talking about in petulant, are all of these little bubbles that have collected together, become friends, or hanging out on the side of the glass. And so that's why I'm confident in saying that this is a sparkling cider. All right, so now that we've looked at our cider and we know how to judge its appearance, we've gone through the 4 categories, we're going to start to smell the cider. We're going to go through the aroma and see what we can pick up. So next up, we're going to do aroma intensity. So aroma intensity is how soon can we smell this cider? How soon can we start picking up some of those characteristics? Is this light? Is it medium minus? Is it medium plus? Or is it pronounced? Now can be a bit tricky because it is a bit different for everybody, but I'm going to show you how it works for me and my body, and then I want you to try it at home and see if that works for you. And if it doesn't, it's totally okay. You can make small adjustments to still be within the same guidelines for the exam. So the first thing for the aroma category is the aroma intensity. So that means how soon can you start picking up some of the flavor or like the aromatic characteristics in the cider? How soon can you start smelling maybe red fruit or apricot or apple or any of those things? So there's 4 different ones for this category. There's pronounced, there's medium plus, there's medium minus, and there's light. And I'm going to show you how that works on my body, and then I want you to try this at home and see if that works for you too. And if it doesn't, don't worry, you will be able to figure out your own method on your own body that still works for the guidelines of this exam. So the first one would be pronounced. So pronounced is the most obvious. Like that means this cider has so much aromatics that you can smell it from a mile away. Not from a mile away though, actually. It means you can smell it from right here. So I like to put it right, like basically in line or just underneath my chest. And then I take a few sniffs And if I can smell anything here, then that means that that is pronounced cider. Next, I'm gonna move it up just a bit further up my chest so that a bit more the glass is kind of in line almost with my collarbone or just underneath the top of the glass. If I can start to smell things here, that would be a medium plus. So it's a bit brought up from pronounced, but it's still quite, it's still there. It's still a medium plus because I'm further enough away from my nose and I can pick up some things. Next would be medium minus, and medium minus for my body would be holding a cider close to my chin. So if I hold it here and only here I'm starting to smell some of the characteristics in this, then that would be a medium minus. Last is get your nose right in there. And if you can only start smelling some of the characteristics when your nose is right in the glass, then that means this is light in intensity. All right, so for this cider here, I'll start here and to see if it's pronounced, but I'm not really able to pick anything up. But when I move it up just a touch on my chest so that it's in line with my collarbone there, I do start to pick up some of those characteristics. Like I can start to smell some of the apple. I can smell almost like a cranberry on it. So I am able to pick up notes right here. So for me, and based off of my own body scale, that means that this is a medium plus intensity for cider. All right, now we're going to get to one of my favorite parts of the analysis is we are going to talk about aroma characteristics. So for the exam, when you're taking it, you are going to have the structured sensory analysis paper that we are doing here today in front of me. You are also going to have this little sheet here. So this little sheet here is possible aroma and or flavors. So don't even have to worry if you're nervous to write the exam and you think you're going to have to pull all these different flavors and characteristics out of your brain. Don't even worry. The ACA has your back. They are going to give you this guide and you are going to see how many from this you're able to pick out. So they are going to have different categories like palm fruit and citrus fruit and stone fruit. And then they're going to break that down even further. So in palm fruit, is it apple? Is it pear? Is it quince? Is it pear drop? Is it apple skin? Is it fresh apple? So that's where you are going to have to do a bit more work. So you're not just going to smell this and say, oh, I get palm fruit. Cool. That's fun, but what kind of palm fruit are you getting? All right, so first for aromatics, what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift this up. We're gonna give a few good sniffs. Breathe out. And then we're gonna hold on that and see what we're smelling. So in this one, I'm getting quite a lot of red fruit in it. Like this, I'm picking up definitely some raspberry. I can feel some kind of like currant in it as well. It almost feels a bit strawberry-esque, but more so like strawberry greens. So if I were to write and be taking the exam, I wouldn't just write red fruit in the nose. I would look at red fruit on this little cheat sheet and I would find what kind of red fruit I'm smelling. So I'm smelling the raspberry, smelling the strawberry, and then I'm gonna think what kind of raspberry or strawberry is that? Is it cooked? Is it fresh? Is it dried? And for me, it feels a bit more fresh raspberry and then very like young strawberry. And if you're curious again, like Jenna, how are you picking out these flavors? One of the best ways to study for this exam is go to any of your favorite market, your favorite grocery store, and pick up the fruit and honestly just smell it. Go to that grocery store, pick up a lemon, smell it. Or next time you're baking, really try to like get in with those spices. Like take a good whiff of that cumin or that allspice. Or when you're peeling your apple, see if the apple skin smells different than the apple flesh itself. So now that I've done a smell with this without moving anything around and just trying to gently bring it up, one thing I like to do to see if I can bring out any more aromatics is I like to cut my hand over top because that will trap in some of the beautiful aromatics of the cider. I like to give it a bit of a swirl just to like break those up, help the CO2 bring some more flavors out if it's there. And then I go back in and I give it some more sniffs. Oh yeah, this is so good. This is like, yeah, there's raspberry. There's also confectionery sugar on this. So when you think of icing sugar, or if you think of any fruit that has icing sugar on this, like again, it's a lot of raspberry, a lot of strawberry. There's a touch of rose, honestly. Like there's a bit of floral. So I can go down and I can see floral and I can pick out where I am on there. Yeah, I can see rose, but there's still also like There's some pear drop to this, or think of like a pear hard candy. Yeah, that's about what I'm picking up for these aromatics here. So I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to write them on my sheet. All right, so the third part of the structured sensory analysis is the palate, which is generally the most fun part because we've been teased with the aromatics, we've been teased with the appearance, so now we actually get to taste the thing and see what our taste buds tell us. So for the palate, we're going to talk about 8 different things. We're going to talk about the sweetness, we're going to talk about acidity, we're going to talk about tannin, we're going to talk about flavor intensity, flavor characteristics, complexity, body, and finish. So first up on the palate, we're going to talk about the sweetness of the cider. Is it dry? Is it semi-dry? Is it semi-sweet? Or is this a full sweet cider? And the only way to find out is to give it a little sip. A good thing to do actually that might help you study is to kind of break down these flavor profiles. So to break them down, honestly, go out, get a pack of sugar, put it in your hand, lick that sugar, see what your tongue does. See how that sugar kind of coats your tongue, and it's cloying, or cloying in a sense where it's like coating. So it coats your tongue. You can feel the sweetness. You can feel the textures of your mouth change as well. The other thing to do is maybe buy a lemon. So when you go to the grocery store to smell a lemon and see what it really smells like, buy that lemon, take it home, cut it into little wedges, and you're going to bite that lemon, and you're going to see how that lemon affects your mouth. You're going to see how you salivate. Another way is for tannin, or another thing that you might want to check is tannin. And a good way of learning what tannin is, if you're brand new to this and have never heard it before, is by drinking just straight cold black tea. So get a tea bag, brew the tea to the tea bag's instructions, let it cool down, and then sip on it and see how that how the flavors and the tannins of the tea affect your mouth, so that you can better understand tannin, acid, and sugar. So when we talk about sweetness, we're talking about whether something is dry, semi-dry, semi-sweet, or sweet. And I'm going to start with sweet because that's generally the most easily understood of the 4. Because most of us know what something sweet is. We've had a candy, you've had Kool-Aid, you've had Coke, you've had like Pepsi, you've had sugary pop before. You know what sweetness feels like in the mouth. It's generally a bit thicker. It coats your mouth a bit more. So when that happens when you're drinking, you kind of know that it is sweet. You can taste the sugar in it. After sweet, we've got semi-sweet. So you still have a good amount of sugar and body and flavor and the coating happening in your mouth, but it might not linger as long. So something sweet is going to keep your mouth tasting pretty sweet for about 5 seconds afterwards. Semi-sweet, the sweetness isn't going to linger as long. Then we've got semi-dry. So it's not going to be as sweet as a semi-sweet. It might be a bit more sharp. So you can still feel the sugar generally. And generally for this, you'll feel the sugar right at the get-go of the cider, and then you'll notice that your mouth is maybe drying out. And then last on the list is dry. So dry is there's no residual sugar left in that, or there might be minimal, but it's not as pronounced, it's not as obvious, it doesn't coat your tongue, it doesn't feel like you're eating candy or you're drinking Coke. It has a bit more sharpness to it. So right off the bat, I do notice that there is some sweetness in this. Like I can feel it hit my taste buds. There's a sweetness that dissipates. So this cider, while it does start sweet, it does dissipate, and there is a dryness that happens in my mouth afterwards. So I would put this as a semi-dry cider because I'm not feeling a lot of that sugar linger in my mouth. It's not the predominant thing my taste buds are feeling. I'm still picking up a lot of acid and a lot of tannin, which we'll talk about later. So next up, now that we know that this is a semi-dry cider, we're going to talk about acidity. So for acidity, we're going to talk about, is it low? Is it medium minus? Is it medium? Is it medium plus? Or is it high? And how we're going to do that is we're going to think back to that lemon that we bought at the grocery store. We're going to take a bite of that lemon, and then we're going to notice after we swallow that our mouth is salivating. So we're going to count those salivations, or like count Mississippis, to see how long our mouth salivates for. And that's how we're going to know whether this is a high acidity cider or low acidity cider. All right, so for something to be high acidity, if you salivate generally between 9 to 10 seconds afterwards, that's a high acid cider. For a medium plus, you're going to be salivating for about 7 or 8 seconds. For a medium, it's between 5 and 6. For a medium minus, that would be 3 or 4. And for a low acid cider, you would only feel yourself salivating for 1 or 2 seconds after you swallow. All right, so let's take a sip of this Geneva Crab Rosé cider here and see where in my mouth it falls for acidity level. All right, so I got about like 9 Mississippis on that. So I'm very confident in saying that this is a high acid cider because you can feel that tartness right here in the jaw. And then when you count, I mean, I got to 9 Mississippis, and even as I'm talking to y'all right now, my mouth is still watering. So yeah, this is high acid. All right, so now that we've talked about sweetness and acidity, we're going to talk about the third structural component of the cider, which is tannin. Is this a low tannin cider? Is it a medium minus? Is it a medium? Is it a medium plus? Or is it a high tannin cider? And the one cool thing that about tannin that you'll learn through studying for your Certified Pommelier program is when you're learning about apples, you're going to be learning about the different apple families. You're going to be learning about bitter sharps. You're going to be learning about sweets and sharps or bitter sweets. You're going to be learning about crab apples, and you're going to be learning about the tannin and the acid level in them. So when you drink a single varietal cider like this, you can kind of have a sense of where that's going to land. Knowing that a Geneva crab or a Geneva Rosé is a crab apple, we can expect like a lot of acidity in here, which we did. We got high acid, but we can expect a touch of bitterness as well. And the bitterness is what's going to kind of lead us in how to know how much tannin is in it. The other way to think about tannin is if anyone here has ever played a wood instrument, or actually a bit more accessible probably. I don't think everyone played the clarinet growing up. I did, but maybe not everyone else. But if you eat a popsicle and a popsicle has a wood stick on it and you keep that wood stick in your mouth, what is happening in your mouth when you have that wood stick in there? Do you notice a drying out? Do you notice a puckering? Do you notice that your cheeks kind of stick to your teeth a little bit, or maybe your tongue to the roof of your mouth? That is what we're looking for when we're talking about tannin in cider. So for something that is low tannin, we're not going to notice any kind of residual grippiness. Sometimes we call it chewiness because it does almost feel like you're chewing because your whole mouth is kind of like sticking to each other or sticking to itself. So when you have a low tannin, you are going to get none of that. You're probably just going to get acid or sweetness, and it's not going to feel like there's any puckering, any lingering, any drying in your mouth. Then we've got medium minus. So that's one where you might notice at the very end, after you swallow, you might still have a bit of astringency or bitterness or dryness on your tongue. Then we've got medium. So medium will be, again, a bit more pronounced. You'll notice, again, it's drying for a bit longer. It's lasting a bit longer. Then, of course, medium plus and high. High for me is like you have a piece of wood in your mouth, and that's what it feels like after you swallow. Like it feels like you swallowed and that popsicle stick is hanging out and it's staying there. Whereas like medium plus, you've taken the popsicle stick out, but you did have a popsicle stick in your mouth for a while, and then it kind of lowers as you go. There's still a pretty good amount of tannin in this. Like you get the acid, you get the puckering, you get the sweetness up front, but then after you swallow, it does feel like there has been a popsicle stick or wood in my mouth. Like I am feeling the chewiness on the sides of my mouth here. So I'd be pretty comfortable putting this as a medium tannin cider because it does feel like there's been wood in my mouth, and it does feel like my mouth has puckered in a bit. It is dried, and I can still feel it linger as I'm talking to you. All right, so now that we've got the structural components down, we've got our sweetness, we've got our acidity, we have our tannin, we're going to talk about intensity. And this is the same grade as our previous 3 little structural components. So we've got low, medium minus, medium, medium plus, and high. And flavor intensity, we're going to talk about what is the depth of the flavor of this cider? Is it round and you're only getting one kind of smooth shape, so you're only really getting one note the whole time? Or would it be something closer, if you were to put it on a sliding scale, to a star, where you have the different notes and the different points and the different sharpness of it? So another way of thinking about flavor intensity is think about a roller coaster. So if it's a low intensity, it's going to be a roller coaster that maybe you rode as a kid. It's the little dragon one, and it just kind of goes around in a circle. Or is it a high intensity where this is a roller coaster that has corkscrews, it has loop-de-loops, you're standing, you're hanging, you're going upside down? Or is it kind of one of those like in-betweens where like maybe it's just a roller coaster with a big drop? Like what are the different intensity to the ride of the cider? All right, so let's try the cider and see where it falls on this roller coaster scale. See, this cider has a lot going on to it. Like when we think of those structural components of sweetness, acid, and tannin, and how they all kind of intermingle, this is a roller coaster ride. Like I think this is a cider with a corkscrew. Maybe not a full loop-de-loop, but there is a good amount of ride to it. So I'm fairly confident of calling this a medium high in flavor intensity. All right, next up, we are going to do flavor characteristics, which is probably my personal favorite of everything on this exam, because we get to now taste the cider and see what all the different flavors are within it. Is it just primary aromas? Is it secondary aromas? And how many of those are we finding? So let's give it a go. It's so yummy. Man, okay, so I'm still picking up a lot of raspberry like I did in the aromatics. One of the big differences that I'm noticing though on the flavor compared to the aromatics is I'm also picking up lemongrass. So I'm picking up an herbal note that I didn't necessarily pick up when I was doing the aromatic characteristics of it. So yeah, we've got lemongrass, we've got raspberry. There's a good amount of cranberry too, especially for how high of acid the cider is. It really feels almost like a very like freshly made cranberry sauce. But without any of the spice in it. So you've got, think cranberries and oranges and lemongrass. Like those are three of the main kind of things I'm picking up here. So of that means I'm picking up citrus fruit, I'm picking up red fruit, and I'm picking up some herbal. It's a really well-made cider. One of the other things I really like about the flavor of this cider is there's still an inherent appleness to it. Like I'm picking up a lot of fresh apple notes, and those fresh apple notes are able to like carry the cranberry, the lemongrass, the strawberry, the orange zest. Like that's kind of wrapping it all in one, which is quite fun because you could see how many different, again, flavor families you're hitting, and we're hitting quite a lot here. So all right, so now that we have our flavor characteristics, we're going to move next to complexity. So again, complexity goes low, medium, medium plus, and high. And the complexity is how many of the flavor profiles or the flavor families are we picking in this? Are we only getting palm fruit, or are we getting palm fruit and citrus fruit? Are we only getting primary aromas and flavors, or are we picking up some of the secondary aromas and flavors as well? Are we picking up some of that fermentation notes? Are we picking up any bread, any vanilla, any wood, or is it just straight apple? So when you think complexity, we're going to count how many of these flavors we are finding, and that's going to tell us how complex the cider is. So when we're counting, if you pick up 8 or more of these flavors, of these flavor families, that means that you have a high complexity cider. And if you pick up between 6 or 7, that means you've got a medium plus. If you pick up between 4 or 5, that means you've got a medium. 3 to 4 of those families, that would be a medium minus, and only 1 to 2 of those families, that would be low on the scale. So let's count and see what families we got here so that we know. So we've got cranberry, which is red fruit. We've got lemongrass, which is herbal. We've got strawberry, which is red fruit. We've got orange zest, which is citrus fruit. We've got fresh apple, which is palm fruit. So we have 4 different flavors. So I'd be pretty confident in putting this between a medium low and a medium on the complexity scale. So second last on the palette, we have the body scale. So for body, we're going to talk about, is it low in body? Is it medium minus? Is it medium plus? Or is it high? All right, so when we talk about body, we're going to think of it as an equation. We're going to think about alcohol, because alcohol really adds the body to it. We're also going to think about sweetness, because if we go back and we think about when we were talking about the sweetness of the cider earlier, we were talking about how when something has a bit more sugar in it, it kind of coats your mouth a little bit and it kind of cloys. That adds to the body. We're also going to think about tannin, because tannin adds to the body after you sip your cider. The one thing we're also going to consider outside of the equation is the carbonation of the cider and the acidity of the cider, because both still lend to the body, but they don't give the cider its full body itself. So carbonation changes the texture and changes the mouthfeel of the body. So when you do that, or when you change the mouthfeel and you change the texture, you are inherently changing the body in some way. Though you can have sometimes a really highly carbonated cider, but it's still lacking body because it might be low in alcohol, it might be low in sugar, and it might be low in tannin. So we have to really think about those three things first, and then also think about the carbonation and the acidity. All right, let's give this another sip and see where it lands on the body scale. With the tannins in this and the starting sweetness, there's a clear start, middle, and finish. And for me, that means this is a medium plus in body because we do very clearly have a start, a middle, and a finish. There's nothing really lacking, and it's not just one note. So we've got the tannins, we've got that sweetness, and we have the alcohol in it as well, though it's not as forward, but the alcohol of this cider is pushing the body throughout. All right, so the last step on our palate section is the finish. So we're going to say whether this is short, medium minus, medium plus, or long. And when we think about the finish, what we mean by that is how long are the pleasing flavors of this cider lasting in your mouth and staying on your tongue. All right, so when we think about it, if you take a sip and you have no lingering pleasing flavors, but it's still a good cider, that's going to be a short finish because there's no real finish to it. There's nothing lasting in your mouth. Medium minus, you might have 1 to 2 Mississippis of the pleasing flavors. For a medium, you might have 3 to 4. Medium plus, you might have like 5 or 6. And for a long finish, a long finish for me would be over 7 seconds of the pleasing flavors in my mouth. All right, so let's take one last sip and analyze the finish of this cider. All right, so I got about 5 Mississippis of those like really pleasing, lingering flavors. So I'm going to put this at a medium finish. So when you're writing the final assessment for this, what we're going to do is talk about what we learned. So what we learned here today, that this is a clear pink sparkling cider. So your first sentence might be just that this is a clear pink sparkling cider. Then you're going to move on to the aromatics. So for this, we said this is a medium plus in intensity. So you could say that your next sentence could be that this is a medium plus intense aromatic experience where you might find notes of raspberry, strawberry, confectionery sugar, and fresh apple. That could be your second sentence. Your third sentence, you're going to move on to your palate. So when we talk about palate, what we learned about this bottle is that this is a semi-dry, it's high acid, it had medium tannin with a medium plus flavor intensity. So your third sentence could be, this is a semi-dry cider with high acid and medium tannins. It has medium plus intensity, and you might find notes of cranberry, lemongrass, strawberry, orange zest, or fresh apple. We could also then talk about the body and say, it's medium plus body and it has a medium finish. All right, so that completes our structured sensory analysis. We've done our appearance, we've done our aroma, we've done our palate, and we figured out how to take all of that and write a nice little final assessment. So thanks for watching this and thanks for doing this with me. If you ever see this bottle in the future or in the shop, please buy it. You will not regret it. And if you ever want to talk apples, please follow me on Instagram at @boosh_bag. I also hope you're following the American Cider Association so you're staying up to date on all things cider in North America. And what I really hope is that you feel a lot more confident going into taking your certified Pommelier exam.
Lastly, practice makes better. I highly recommend using the resources available to you on our website and in our Facebook community. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to our channel for all things cider education.